Love Gruden ranting on BS about guys don't practice, don't play preseason, and soft CBA. And surprise, surprise, guys get hurt. September football is the new August. Yeah, he is certainly onto something there. That is not the ravings of a madman. You know, I know anybody who's involved on the football side in the league, right, is mostly in agreement with all of that. Right? They don't practice. There aren't opportunities to get better because you aren't allowed to practice. And certainly you're only allowed to wear pads 14 times through the season, the whole season in practices. And then you add all the limitations in the offseason, all the ways you're not allowed to get on the grass and hit and put your pads on for much of the offseason work. It's why things are just the level of play, the quality of football that we watch now is so bad. And look, the NFL doesn't give a shit. The NFL completely disregards anything and everything that actually would help develop the game as it's supposed to be played, right? Especially when it comes to the work an offensive line needs, right? And because, you know, they're good. People are watching anyway. It's always the highest rated thing. Remember, you used to have NFL Europe, and you actually were able to have a bit of a pipeline for guys who weren't ready but needed to work and needed reps, and then they did it, and they went over there, and they actually played football. It lost money hand over fist, but you were given an opportunity to work on your craft, right? And this is in conjunction with when NFL teams were able to actually practice in pads for more than like a handful of days in the summer. It's unfortunate, man, because obviously there's a whole generation now that has come up with football as it is, as we watch it, as it currently exists. And it's bad, but for lack of a better term, they don't know any better, right? But man, the way, especially along the offensive line play is what has really suffered the most under the new collective bargaining agreement. And I used to talk to David Bakhtiari about this all the time. You know, the pipeline from college to the pros is tough enough. And then you get guys who have just basically run air raid shit in college, and then they get to the NFL and they have to learn how to get into a 3-point stance, you know, just out of the gate, let alone how to do half of the stuff they're being asked to do at the league level on a repetitive basis without pads on. Then you get a couple of days of pads, and then the season starts and you're allowed 14 days in pads for the entire year. It's nuts, man. It's absolutely nuts. But like I said, they're making money hand over fist. These guys got their yachts with IMAX theaters in them. And there's a reason the coaches who do go to the owners' meetings, there's a reason they're summarily dismissed and asked to go play golf while these things are voted on. You know, it's really sad because the players' union and the league, they're the ones who agreed to this lack of practice, lack of prep, lack of pads, etc. The coaches are the only ones who don't have a voice in that process. They don't have a union. It's the players' union and the owners. They're having that conversation. The coaches are over here going, could we get a little practice time? Could we have a little bit of ability to work with our guys in the offseason? Could we get in pads and do some hitting, etc.? Nope. They're not part of the conversation. Sad reality, man.